And welcome everyone to LoneStarVarsity.com. I'm Zach Long. This is Phil Torino getting you ready for the regional final round of Texas high school football. We have 4 football teams alive, Phil. 2 of them are going to play each other, so we're going to be back with you next week discussing at least one state semifinal game. And really, some of the teams we identified early in the season have rose to the top of the crop here and have a chance to do something special.
You know, when I first went out to Seagraves in late August to discuss the season with their coach Steve Hereford, and also when I got out to Crosbyton in October, both of those coaches hinted at the potential for this matchup to be in the 4th round of the playoffs, and sure enough, it did end up that way.
Now, as for picking these games, you're going to have to go to another video, Phil's ever-popular weekly pick segment in his Lone Star Minute. He'll get down to the business of picking these games, but let's look at them in a little bit more detail and how they got there. And let's start first with the Seagraves Eagles, their outstanding football player in Corey Kyle. They get over Farwell in a pretty convincing manner, don't they? Yeah,
trying to talk to Corey Kyle after the game was sort of a tough proposition because he was just mobbed by obviously his teammates, but then afterwards, like all fans. And it's often that you see like players, 1 or 2 of their, I guess, high school classmates will ask for a photo, but Kyle was absolutely mobbed after this performance. It's because he has a hand in 8 touchdowns. So he runs for 6, which, he had done in the ballpark of several times this year, so that's not really a surprise. He chases down a punt and recovers that for a touchdown. He has a pick, and he also throws a really tight lefty spiral for a 28-yard pass to Robbie Pignon. So Corey Kyle had a huge performance there.
Now, also in Class 2A, just in a different division, Abernathy, the Antelopes, not to be overlooked here. They take out defending state champion Wellington.
I think they showed a great deal of confidence here late because Nick Clarkson, I spoke with him at length this weekend after the game, and he has a chance to ice this in the first overtime with a 44-yard kick. And in his estimation, he really didn't do anything wrong or different. The kick just didn't go. There was a bit of wind, and he thought he was aiming for one of the uprights, and it just went a little bit wide. He gets another crack and nails the 47-yarder, to put the Antelopes, past Wellington, which is a really impressive win considering for as much talk as there was about how Wellington had lost some key pieces, this is still a tough team that had seen a lot of winning, and you've got to figure if you give them a chance late, they could really close the door on you, but I thought that Abernathy stuck around.
And they are going to have to go through 2 giants to get to state. They've done one of them already in getting rid of Wellington. Now Canadian, a powerhouse football team from the Panhandle, both undefeated teams, an outstanding game coming up in Amarillo, Phil, and you're going to pick that one on the Lone Star Minute, but we don't want to get into that and give them too much, do we? As for Crosbyton, another Class 2A team, they're going to get Seagraves in what's going to be a heck of an environment out at Plains Capital Park Lowry Field on Friday night. They kind of destroy Quanah pretty convincingly to get to this round.
Yeah, this is a repeat performance of when Crosbyton and Quanah met in the regular season, and that was a 35-0 win for the Chiefs. I think everyone sort of, expected sort of the same result, at least people that really looked at the details and the nitty-gritty of this matchup. Now, what had been going well in Quanah's favor is that it had an awesome win against Booker, and that team definitely deserves all the credit in the world for, beating a team that had a quarterback and a wide receiver that set some state records this year. But I think when you looked at it, Quanah had the excellent secondary to match up with Booker, and unfortunately for them, that run defense wasn't quite good enough to stop Crosbyton.
And you want to talk about a heck of a matchup with running backs. My goodness gracious, Crosbyton and Seagraves, they may break some records points-wise in that football stadium on Friday night. I can't wait to hear Phil pick that game over on the Lone Star Minute.
The thing about that, and just to tease the pick a little bit, I think that there is unquestionably those 2 running backs are going to have a big impact in that game. I really think it's going to come down to which of the 2 teams executes better with their fringe options on offense. That's going to really, sort of help them out here.
Now over to Class 3A, the Shallow-Water Mustangs, I guess thou shall not doubt. Shallow-Water, here they are, 1 loss in a regional final after everything they lost last year. Really kind of tells you the program that they're running up there.
I did like them in this matchup, but it sort of, that result came into question once you saw that they weren't really moving the ball on offense at all, and they end up with less than 10 first downs, less than 200 yards combined offense, but they managed to do it with the defense and special teams, and at this rate, at this part of the year rather, it doesn't really matter, how you get it done as long as you keep advancing.
And they keep absolutely doing that. They're going to get Brock, another undefeated team, very good. They're going to play that game down in Abilene. 3 regional final games. Phil, you're going to be out at Lowry Field for Crosbyton Seagraves. We will have full coverage of the other 2 games as well. Stay locked on to LoneStarVarsity.com. And we'll be back next week because we're going to have at least one region or state semifinal game to discuss, and that means they are a win away from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, which is a heck of an accomplishment for anyone, but to have maybe multiple teams getting to that level, Could be a heck of a time, so stay locked into LoneStarVarsity.com. And speaking of staying locked in, we're into basketball season. You haven't been able to have your full concentration over there yet because these football teams keep winning, but we are not just into the season. We're at tournament time. Some big ones this week, especially at Friendship and Shallow Water.
Definitely. We're going to have coverage of probably 1 or 2 days each of those tournaments, looking ahead to Thursday and Saturday of this week, if I had to guess. We've already seen a pretty good number of teams, the Friendship boys and girls a couple of times. I saw the Smyer and Idalou boys. I saw the Plainview and Monterey girls. So we're slowly starting to get there. I think putting together that preview stuff for both sides, even in the midst of the beginning of the football playoffs, was a challenge, but it helped me really sort of get a grasp for which sort of teams will be really competitive. And I saw the Estacado boys too play.
Right.
So yeah, we're definitely getting there.
And the Gene Messer out at Friendship, a huge indicator tournament. You'll learn a lot about teams. They get A-grade competition in there. And the lower classes will be up at Shallow Water. You're talking about 10 miles of separation to see some pretty good basketball if you've had your fill of football. We'll have full coverage of that. Right now, though, we got to get Phil off to his next segment where he's going to pick all of those magical regional final football games. You can get mad at him or you can be happy with him. That'll be the Lone Star Minute. Check it out at Lubbock Online and LoneStarVarsity.com. For now, though, we're going to bid you farewell. We have said more than a mouthful. We have to go get ready to cover these football games. That's Phil Torino. I'm Zach Long, and you're on LoneStarVarsity.com.